Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's Beyond the Tech podcast. I'm Neda Maria Kaisumi, your host, and with us, we are honored to have Ms. Anna Turvoll as our guest. Anna is the CEO and chair of Völur, a Norwegian AI company transforming the meat industry through data-driven optimization. With a background in investment banking at Goldman Sachs and a strong foundation in sustainability, Anna brings a unique perspective to the integration of AI and environmental responsibility. Since stepping into her role at Völur in 2024, she has led the company through a new funding round and expanded its mission to reduce waste and CO2 emission in meat production. Anna is passionate about responsible AI, emphasizing ethical practices in deploying technology for real-world impact, and her leadership exemplify how advanced technology can drive both efficiently and sustainably in traditionally complex industries. In this episode, we'll explore her journey into AI, her approach to ethical innovation, and what projects she'd pursue if given unlimited resources. Thank you very much, Ms. Anna, being with us today.
Hi, Neda. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to talk about Völur and what we are doing in this space.
Thank you. Could you share your journey into the field of AI? What inspired you to pursue a career in AI, particularly within this industry?
Sure. Yeah, so my career has definitely not been linear, but has been a journey, and I think always willing to be open to change and adaptation and evolution. And innovation has been an important aspect of how I look at the career of where I am today. My background is actually in finance, in banking, and then moving forward to the future of food. After my 10 years at Goldman's, wanted to look at food and future of food, and that has been through different proteins, which has led me to Völur here in Norway. So we are looking to optimize the meat industry using AI and mathematical optimization. And the journey to get to this point has been through looking at different ways consumers have purchasing habits for food, particularly in red meat, and then looking at ways from a sustainability standpoint that we can optimize what consumer habits are telling us. Our team is made up of majority of data scientists, AI specialists, engineers, and what we look to do is work with a very traditional industry who has been around for a very, very long time, and helping them to make Industry 4.0 changes through the use of technology available today to work out the optimal way of sorting, scheduling, and producing an output. So, for example, when we have a lot of SKUs or orders that come in from a retailer or from a demand perspective, we also then receive the data and information on a supply perspective. And what we look to do is quantify and analyze that information and then use models to work out which carcass should be made into which particular product. It's been a fantastic and interesting journey. I think looking at ways that we can improve the industry as a whole using technology is what has brought me to this point in AI and the future of food production.
Thank you for sharing that. It's so interesting. I have been working with AI for the last 4 or 5 years very intensively, but never been in a meat industry.
Yes.
To understand. Yeah.
It's a very unique combination, and I think that's what makes Völur so special, is that it's very unique to be able to have industry knowledge, AI understanding, and then the way that we're able to work with industry partners and build the relationships for such a transformative change.
And I believe in this transformative change that you mentioned, there must be a lot of challenges because talking to the farmers who are not really strong in AI, I assume, so that should be a challenging work. What kind of biggest challenges you have, and how do you tackle them in this journey?
Yeah, well, you would be surprised in that a lot of the industry is open to change and looking at AI and is quite up to date with reading up on the topic or listening to podcasts that talk about AI. I think where the gap is and what we noticed was last year, a lot of the manufacturers that we worked with actually had a data problem. So they may, be collecting information in spreadsheets, ERP system. It's very disparate data. And for us to be able to help collate that and have an API feed to be able to bring us the necessary data inputs that we require to run the model, we have had to do a lot of work on that first point. And actually, we partnered with a company called Fortify at the beginning of this year because they are a hardware solutions provider in these meat manufacturers, which collect the data that we need to run through our models. So that's been a step change and a giant leap for us to be able to then have the partnership where we're able to find those players that have, the data quality and the technology readiness to be able to have these necessary inputs to run through our models. So definitely identifying who is, the challenge has been identifying who is ready for the next phase of growth.
Very interesting. If it's okay to ask, I'm really keen to understand what kind of data do you collect and from where? How do you combine them?
Yes. So when we work with meat manufacturers, we need to identify the characteristics of an animal coming in. So we work in both beef and in pork. So the examples of the data inputs we require would be the age of the animal, weight, gender, fat percentage, an estimation of yield. And so we have a table that we collect all these characteristics and input data points. And then we also map constraints. So for each line of work or customer that we work with, there may be different constraints. For example, line speed, how many people show up that day, so workforce percentages, shifts, how many shifts in the day, breaks. So we have kind of different points. So we have the input data, the constraints, and then what the customer is looking to optimize for that day. So is it order fulfillment? They want 100% order fulfillment. Or is it value creation? They want highest value inputs to go to the highest value products. So there's a pricing element from retailers on the other side. And then we need to think about all these different information points, which one of our advisors, actually, he was worked for 30 years at one of the largest Danish pork producers and just said, Anna, since the 1990s, linear modelling was just not enough to help us get the answers for this industry. So the complexity of this industry is far beyond what you think about when you sit down and have a meal of what has actually happened to have that piece of meat on your plate. So they are the input metrics, and then on the demand side, the metrics that we have are the different SKUs, so the different products that need to be made up that day, from ground beef, mince, all the way up to an eye fillet, to a rump steak, etc., etc. So they're just the variables on both sides make the complexity for AI to be very much a good help in this industry.
My goodness, it's so amazing that as you talk, it just it encouraged me to listen more and more. I've never been in this industry, and I think it's very, very interesting. Yeah. Well, Völur aims to reduce meat production waste and CO2 emission. How does your AI technology contribute to these sustainability goals?
Yes. So the way that we're able to reduce waste is to look at optimal production. So when we produce an animal, we've seen yield improvements of up to 10% when we use our Völur optimization capability. That is because what was happening previously is it's very much to look at the industry at optimal inventory levels, need the requirement to maybe push. If you think when you're at the supermarket chain, there's often labels of, on packets of food that is, might be going out of date. And that's because there may have been an overproduction or many coming in through the cycle on that particular week. So when you think of the whole supply chain, what we try to do is we're laser focused on optimization in sorting and scheduling of beef and pork. However, we need to think of the broader supply chain and what that means upstream all the way to the farm and downstream all the way to the retailer. So when we talk about waste reduction, we're talking about optimizing inventory levels. We're talking about not needing to push excess product into retailers because, as we all know, 20% of food waste can be avoided with more optimal decision making. So we try to look at this broader piece. And then from a sustainability point of view, where we're working, when there is that yield improvement of 10%, we can then think about how that affects the broader, supply chain as well, from a methane perspective, from a carbon perspective, from a feed and inputs perspective. So being able to just do things better with technology available today is the way that we can really harness this.
Very interesting. One of the things you repeatedly mention is optimizing the decision making. And it's very interesting because many people think that AI is just generative AI and ChatGPT and Copilot, but I think you're mentioning a very beautiful aspect of AI, which I always like to talk about it with my clients. You mentioned that you have been partnering with a company like Fortified, but I also know that you have been partnering with a company like Microsoft as a global independent software vendor. Mm-hmm. How has this collaboration influenced your AI development and ultimately deployment in the company?
Yes, we have very much appreciated our, ISV, independent service provider relationships, because that helped us in the very early days of Völur and the beginning and foundation of our company, actually to open doors with customer engagement, and also to be able to look at the, foundations, online courses, iterating with any help or customer engagement that was required, and even co-hosting events together to talk more about AI in the meat industry, which is so unique. We've also found that, using agents it's just of recent, actually, we've really made sure that we are at the forefront of doing that to be able to stay ahead of the curve. As an AI company, we ourselves want to, not just talk the talk, we want to be using this to help us. And we've seen that some of our time saving in data cleaning, in looking at the way we work, has saved us something from 3 weeks to 3 hours. So that has just been a new development in the most recent weeks. I would also say that with our partnerships, we've been able to really look at the AI tools we use. As you mentioned, we are specifically playing in mathematical optimization, and for us, when we think about the industry, we are doing the optimization from going from one to many. So rather than converging, like building a car and you have many parts of a car and converging that into one automobile, we are starting with one animal and diverging. So we actually then have a replicable algorithm, not just for the meat industry, but this could be used for many industries going forward, where they're just we need to think about one particular object moving into many parts.
Thank you for sharing that. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about this great mission that you have for sustainable future and using AI. This responsible AI, how it has been integrated to your work, because people thinking that responsible AI is probably only about human being, but I believe animal also has rights, and I'm so interested and keen to hear how you have been integrating responsible AI into your work.
Yes. So for us, we have to ensure that we are, of course, SOC 2 Type 2 certified for integrity. We also have many ways that we're across data integrity pieces. But for us, responsible AI, we actually look at it from an industry perspective of where we're playing. And for us, that means we have seen of recent times a lot of meat manufacturing plants are looking for robotics and hardware solutions for the industry. And with that, we are a software player, but we look to engage further with hardware providers who are able to really use the responsible methods to help, for example, human error on the line floor, or any task that is perhaps more of a dangerous nature, to have a robot that's able to do that task in the meat manufacturing space. So we're very much working through our customers to make sure that we have a combination of responsible AI and certifications that help keep integrity and that help to really provide extra time, so do time reduction, so that humans are able to work on tasks that much more benefit for the broader company.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm really inspired of your beautiful work that you're doing. It's amazing. How receptive is the meat industry to adopt AI technologies, and what steps do you take to facilitate this transition from the old-fashioned meat production to AI meat production?
I think there's two things that will really help the industry to move forward. And one is the industry very much looks to each other. So if we're able to showcase our solution that's really helping the industry, it will not take long to broaden that out. And we have some current ongoing partnerships in different countries around the world, which are just in the very foundation, but to showcase the metrics to the broader industry as a whole in that country, that we're able to make these transitional leaps using AI from an optimization perspective. I think the second thing is, we've seen with customer engagement that if we're able to go out and really help them install our Völur solution, use this, sit with them, sit with our production manager and say, okay, this is what you were doing before. This is the small change. It's actually a change management piece. This is a small change you need to make that will help you. And then we see from a leadership perspective within the customer that if there is a KPI or a metric of alignment to show that with the use of the Völur solution, with AI to help optimize, there's a win-win situation for everyone, that we have efficiency creation and value creation for the customer. For the employee, it helps make their day much easier because they are using what would have taken them an hour in Excel now is done in 4 minutes with our Völur solution. So we're giving them back an hour of their day in a time management perspective. And so just showcasing these metrics of improvement, helping with the change management piece, and then having the industry adopt as a whole across the board.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think I was not aware that this is a global industry. So it's not only Norway who is using that, it's actually several countries, right?
That's right. We began the foundation of Völur is 2019 here in Norway. And that is where it was recognized that there was a gap in the market. And from Norway, we've now have engagement across to Europe and to the US, and also now moving down into Australia.
Very interesting. So being global, what advancement do you foresee in AI that could further revolutionize the meat processing industry in the next 5 to 10 years, learning best practices from each country?
Yes, I think as we spoke about, being able to share the knowledge and experiences for the industry as a whole. So having industry body and policy that helps to move this forward is very pivotal and important for the industry as a whole versus just customer by customer. I think there was a Wall Street Journal article last year that I have very much been embracing, which showed the evolution of the industry with robotics, with being able to use technology and AI to further production, to further optimization, to further yield improvements. And I see that's where the industry can go. With that, of course, there's a high capex requirement initially, but the ongoing benefits much outweigh not doing it and being a facility that's left behind.
Interesting. If you had access to unlimited resources, what personal AI project would you choose to pursue, and what impact would you hope that this project will have in future?
Is that the golden ticket question? So I think for us, or for me personally, and for Völur as a company, taking our knowledge and our model from not just red meat, but across to many other. So I would keep this within the optimization of food. So how can we produce for a growing population, reaching many more billion people by 2030 and 2050, we need to be able to have food manufacturing in a much more efficient way. So rather than just the protein space, we would move into, outside of red meat, into fish, into white meat, but then also into fruit and vegetables, looking at better ways to optimize in that process. And then you could move into energy as well. If we think of the way that energy production has been made of oil and gas, of olefins, polyolefins, how could we use this as a very novel way to look at the supply chains? And that's really going from paddock to plate or farm to fork in the food industry, or on the energy level, all the way from exploration and production through to consumer usage. So there's a very much looking at supply chains and how we're able to optimize. That would be my pet project, I'm sure.
That's nice. And I have one last question, but not least. A couple of my Harvard colleagues and I, we are trying to use AI to reduce the school shooting. And the whole intention of this podcast has started to raise awareness that how AI can be used for different projects. And for us, is about reducing school shooting. And listening to this interview with you, with a great mission that you have for our future, for the meat industry, for sustainability, for human beings, and especially animals, and using AI for such a great mission, what's your advice to us? What can we do in our project, and how we can advance AI for social safety?
Yeah, I think I've seen some fantastic companies coming out of the Nordics actually, who are also doing social safety, social awareness, more looking at insurance, many of the similar overlaying aspects. I would say that to be able to proliferate the discussion around it, to help the opportunity with using technology and AI to look at different ways to support social safety is very important. It would be bringing awareness exactly this through different forms of communication and forums, I think, is a very good way to begin, and having engagement throughout a global footprint.
Thank you so much. Well, Miss Anna, this interview has been one of the best interviews I've had. I don't know, I have heart for animals, and as you were speaking and connecting how you use AI for animals, because it had never resonated in my head before. So I'm truly impressed, and I'm sure our listeners will also like this interview very much. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you very good luck in future career. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Anna Turvoll.
Great. Thank you very much.